You're experiencing some setbacks, but they're preparing you for that one comeback.
Hello, and welcome to the INvest.U podcast, where we are inspiring and equipping you to achieve success in family, work, and life. Dr. Brett Carter, the Associate Vice Chancellor and Dean of Students at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, joins the show. Although he's had an illustrious career, he has experienced many hardships as one of 9 children raised in a single-parent home. He reminds us that there can be no comeback if there's been no setback. Hear his inspiring story coming up now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the INvest.U podcast. This is your host, Jeremiah Hopes, and we have an incredible show for you today. I have a very, very special guest on our show today, Dr. Brett Carter. Dr. Carter is the Associate Vice Chancellor and Dean of Students at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. He's been involved in higher education for over 28 years. He received his PhD in Higher Education Administration from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And Dr. Carter, I noticed you don't have a date on there, so you're not going to date yourself. But trust me.
No, not at all.
He has his PhD from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And a couple other things. His professional interests are to engage students in educational discourse about personal values, accountability, citizenship, and positive decision-making. And I could literally go on and on and on. So, Dr. Carter, welcome to the INvest.U. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well, and it's a pleasure to have an opportunity to join you on your program.
Well, I appreciate it. We have a long history as well, and I'll give everybody a brief overview of how we met and how I know you. So the bottom line is Dr. Carter was my boss a long time ago when I was a graduate student at University of North Carolina at Greensboro. We'll just say UNCG for short. And he was probably one of the best bosses I ever had. He was very much laid back, very much hands off, didn't micromanage, was just an outstanding leader, outstanding person to have as what I would say is a mentor. So Dr. Carter, just tell us a little bit about, don't tell any bad stories about me, but just tell a little bit about what you're doing now and how you sort of progressed into your current role at UNCG.
Okay, so yeah, I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor and Dean of Students here at UNC Greensboro, and I've been here going on 23 years now, and I've been very fortunate that within those 23 years I have been able to advance in my career. And as you mentioned earlier, we met in Housing and Residence Life many years ago, and from there, I would say that I happened to be in the right place at the right time, connecting with the right people that allowed me to progress from being, working in housing and residence life to moving into a position of assistant dean and now the associate vice chancellor. And just quickly overview, my primary job, and even with all the areas that report to me, is creating that culture of care here on campus in terms of letting students know that we're here to provide you that support and to help you navigate. And so I have departments that support that philosophy that report to me, like the Counseling Center, the Student Health Center, the Dean of Students Office, the Veterans Resource Center, and the Parent Family Center. So those departments really support and value the philosophy of creating that culture of care. And so that's a little bit about what I do and kind of how I've managed to be in my new role as the Associate Vice Chancellor.
Wow, I'm just curious, how many people and departments report to you directly or indirectly?
Yeah, so I have about 5 departments that report directly to me, and within those 5 departments, if you had to total up all the employees and student staff, I'm looking at probably about anywhere from 150 to 200 individuals that combined in all those departments that I work with and support in terms of providing the services to our students.
Okay, wow. We're going to get to some other issues related to your work a little bit later, but I want to give the listeners an opportunity to sort of know some background about you. And one thing I do know is that you were one of, I think, 7 children growing up. Is that right?
Well, actually 9.
Okay,
but
9. Wow.
Yeah, one of 9, and so. I grew up in a small town here in North Carolina, High Point, North Carolina to be exact. And at a very early age, my father left my mother when I was 4, And from that point on, my mother had to take on the responsibility of raising 9 kids. And I can tell you, when I was going through it then, I thought, man, is this kind of the life that I'm going to be living for the rest of my life? And now, as I have progressed in terms of on a personal and professional level, I look back at my childhood experiences and say, you know what, it's because of that why I'm who I am today. And so I wouldn't, if I had to do it all over again, knowing the outcome, I would be happy to relive it.
Wow.
As challenging as it may sound.
Well, it does sound challenging, and I want to get to the nitty gritty a little bit, because you know how you hear these success stories. You are a success story, but what were some of the challenges growing up as one of 9? Yeah,
so right off the bat, because my father left, that in and of itself was a challenge, not having a male figure in the house, and certainly there's that male bonding that you miss, and so that was one of the immediate challenges. But over the course of several years, challenges such as having to move from a house that my grandfather had built for our family into low-income housing and not having anything, and for months having to sleep on the floor, to not knowing where your next meal was going to come from, to not knowing if the house we couldn't have paid the bills to keep the lights on, to keep the gas coming in, and in terms of to heat the house. And certainly there were many times when my mother would gather us all in the kitchen, and she would open the oven door so that the heat from the oven could keep us all warm, and we would sleep on the floor just so that we could, again, stay warm, because we didn't have any heat in the house. And it was very challenging. And my mother, because she was trying to raise all of us, she couldn't be that true sense of a mother to us in terms of hugging us and holding us and telling us she loved us. She was showing it by her every day going out and working sometimes 2 and 3 jobs just so that she can kind of help make ends meet. So that's just a few of the things that were going on in our household, and it was hard. But I learned at an early age that, and given my family situation, and that's one of the values I take away from that situation, is that we have to stick together. We have to kind of take care of each other. And as soon as I was able to find employment, when I turned literally at the age of 14, I began contributing to the family so that we can help make ends meet. So
At that age, at 14, knowing you had to go out and work to provide income for the family, what was sort of your mindset going into sort of an early employment at a young age?
Because it was just so hard, and I tell you, what really resonates with me so often is when you are watching your mother cry because she just, is just struggling, and there were many times when, and at that young age, I didn't realize what was going on, but I mean, she was struggling, and so much to the point where it physically impacted her from a standpoint of her health, and it resulted in my mother having to retire at a very, very early age. And so she had to retire from her place of employment at the age of 45. And so my point there is, you see in this, your immediate instinct is, I want my mom to be in a better place. I don't like seeing my mother cry and just live this pain. And so it just motivated me. And I tell folks to this day, I'm not even scratching the surface, but my mother could have easily said, I got to hand you off, all you guys off, to other folks to take care of you because I just can't do it. But that just was not in her DNA. Her thing was to keep us together. And again, at the time, I used to think, man, does my mom care, love me? But when I look back at it now, she just expressed her love in a lot of different ways. So again, back to your question, for me, it was just one of those things. I just wanted to do good and see my mother in a better place.
Wow. So obviously your mother was a very strong woman. resiliency.
Absolutely.
To raise 9 children on her own and not give them up to the foster care system, which a lot of times happens, is amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I came from a single parent home, and you came from a single parent home, and that was led by a mother, a strong female figure. Did you have any male role models or any male figures in your life as you were growing up?
Yeah, and I say that because as all this was going on, I was actively involved in the Boys and Girls Club in High Point, and I when I travel and speak on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club, one of the things that phrases that I like to use is that the club became my home away from home. And it was there that I, participated in basketball leagues and Bible study and leadership organizations that often were led by male figures, and many of them were African American males. And so that was what kept me sound and stable and in terms of who I was, and recognizing that there are people out there who care, because I would parallel that with my father not caring, but yet I got somebody out there who does. And that's what kept me focused and kept me staying strong and being able to go back home and be good and do and support my mother, is having that value and that and complementing with my mom's values, and knowing that, in order to move forward, you got to be in a good place. And so, yeah, I had male figures throughout my time, and a lot of it, I contribute to my involvement with the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay. And so what was your main influence as you were growing up that influenced you to go to college and pursue your higher education?
Good question. And I think the influence was, and certainly this is back in the day, for many African Americans, at least to my understanding, is when you are struggling, oftentimes the idea would be to join the military. And so 6 of my 9 family members joined the military, and they did it for obvious reasons. One, my mother was not in a position to assist them in being able to go to college. I have one sister who pretty much almost got a full ride, but to UNC Chapel Hill, but needed some additional funds. And she decided not to because of what was going on at the time with the family. So she joined the military so that she can kind of help my mother continue to raise us. This is one of my older sisters. And so, but for me, I had a passion. I had a desire to want to go to college. And through my involvement with the Boys and Girls Club, I was exposed to individuals, to situations, to opportunities that opened doors. And that door opened where an individual who had just moved into High Point as a faculty member at High Point University in the Department of Human Relations, and he and I had met and had a conversation, and I said to him, I just have a desire to go to college. And what he didn't know is at the time, I had already gone down to the military agency, and had already taken all the necessary tests to begin preparation to join the military. I had planned to go into the Army. And so the timing was perfect, because the day that he and I met was the day that I was supposed to go and finish what I needed to do. And he basically said to me, if college is your passion and your dream, I'm gonna do everything I can to get you into school. And that's when my life changed.
Wow, that is powerful. So basically would you say he was a mentor, a role model, somebody you looked up to?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And to this day, all that mentor, role model, coach, father figure, all that packaged into just one individual. And to this day, we have continued to maintain contact. He's a person that I can call at any point and process and talk about personal and professional things. So certainly, yeah, that relationship has been and continues to remain strong.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, one of the things that I'm really big on thinking about and focusing on is that as men, we need mentors too, and I think that's something
Absolutely.
that is sometimes missed. But even though you are doing well, you still have mentors in your life. So
Absolutely.
talk about the value of maintaining
Yeah.
mentorship.
Absolutely. And so you hit the nail on the head in terms of, even though he's my primary mentor, I have strategically identified over the years mentors who can provide or address certain areas for me. And the reason why I say that is because I'm reminded of one time of meeting Dr. Nito Cobain. And Dr. Cobain is he's a motivational speaker and currently the president at High Point University. And one of the things he said is that, to be successful, you have to surround yourself with positive thinking people who are going to give you that energy to keep moving forward. And the reason why he shared that with me is because when he was asked to be president of High Point University, he had no clue. And he said, I never ran a university. Until someone said, but you're a motivational speaker and you talk about how it's important to surround yourself with important people who are talented in certain areas that's going to help you be able to be successful in this position. And so I've always kind of carried that with me in terms of surrounding myself with positive people and them being able to contribute something. And so things that I think that, and to this day, that I rely on, because I tell folks, I am work in progress. And both in my personal life and in my professional life, like we all do, I have struggled. And I have some good days and I have bad days, but it's always good to be able to pick up the phone or email and say, hey, I'm kind of going through this at work, or I'm dealing with this in my personal life, and, help me to understand, what's going on. And these people are willing to say, step up to the plate and say, well, let's process this and let's talk about this. And I often tell people, when you find a mentor, a true mentor is somebody that's going to be positive, but it's also somebody that's going to keep it real.
That's right.
And they're going to tell you, like, hey, dude, you need to take some steps back. And that's what I need. And I tell folks, I said, you know what? I am who I am, and criticism, feedback, wherever you phrase it, I'm human. It hurts. But at the end of the day, when you process it, it makes you better. It makes you stronger. And so that's what I do is I look for those. I have those circle of friends that are in my world or in my life that are all about making sure and helping me be successful.
This podcast is all about investing in you, investing in yourself. And the last thing you said is helping you to be successful. And, when you have a mentor, somebody that is in your life, that's an investment in yourself. So talk a little bit about how having a mentor is an investment in you and how that builds you up and helps you develop as a person and as a leader, as a professional.
Yeah. So for me, having that mentor is one of the main things is they keep you focused and they keep you, or another phrase of they keep you centered in terms of self-aware. And that, I think, is one of the key things is self-awareness of who you are, what things can keep you motivated, what things can be challenging. And when you are aware of that, that's when you and that mentor are going to have a really successful relationship, because oftentimes people pick mentors and what they realize is you and your mentor are incompatible because your differences, your values, the things you're dealing with and going through don't mesh up. So things that I look for, or things that I get from my mentor, is they encourage me and help me process through issues. Mentors don't fix it. Mentors help process and facilitate with you. And if you got a mentor that's always trying to say, well, this is what you need to do, I would say run, because that's not what a mentor is supposed to do.
Okay.
A mentor is someone that is in it for the long haul. And oftentimes in my current role, students will come in and say, Dr. Carter, man, you're so down to earth, and would you be willing to be my mentor? And I have to kind of be true to them and say, I look at mentoring different than you may, and I'm in it. I'm willing. I'm in it for the investment, and I'm going to invest in you. Mm-hmm. But the most important thing is you got to be willing to invest in a relationship. And so, mentors are always, when you call them and they make a commitment to meet with you or have coffee with you, they're there. They're not making up excuses. So that's the long term. Mentors are people that are coaches or teachers. They provide wisdom. I rely on folks who've been out there in the work world and have dealt with challenging people and can say, hey, when I was in higher education, these are the things that I dealt with. And so, again, they validate that you're not just dealing with these things and you're not the only one. Because I can tell you, as you move up in your role, it becomes lonely because as you move up into leadership positions, folks see that as, well, man, I can't go to him anymore because I don't know how he's going to pass this information on. And so you got to have mentors to kind of keep you sound. Because I can tell you right now, as an associate vice chancellor, I love my role. I love what I do. I love interacting with students. But there are days when it's lonely because I can't pick up the phone and colleagues that I've worked with for 23 years here, whether they were in a different department, and say, you know what, I'm frustrated about this particular situation, or they can't call me because even though they want to, they see me as in my role as an associate vice chancellor and go, man, I don't know if I can talk to him because where's this information going to go? And again, like I said, mentors challenge you, and again, they keep it real with you. So those are things that I value in terms of my mentors and me also in a sense of investing in me, making that commitment and investing my time to make sure that I let them know that I value them.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I have a number of mentors, and I selected my mentors over a period of time, like you're saying, because, you want to be invested in somebody for the long haul. And one of my mentors was actually looking for a mentor for himself. And he had a hard time, selecting a mentor. So let me ask you this. How do you actually pick a mentor? Is there a certain criteria or certain things that would be important to look for in trying to actually identify a mentor?
Things that when I'm looking for a mentor is they can provide sound advice, and even they are willing to share their struggles and failings, and basically, because that's one of the things even when I'm talking to students, and students go, I know you're not going to understand, and sometimes in order for me to connect with that student, I let that student know, hey, I even though our lives are different, I went through some of that too. When a student comes in and says, I'm embarrassed to come in and tell you that I need some help because I don't have any food. You don't need to be embarrassed or I would say, hey, I know what you're saying because I remember how I used to go and stand in line in high school and was totally embarrassed about having to say, can I get free lunch? Mm-hmm. Again, I look for mentors that are listening and are actively listening and engaging, and where I can tell where this person really has me as value me in the relationship is when I reconnect with my mentors. They come back and go, so hey, I remember the last time we talked, we dealt with this one situation. How's that going for you? Or they send you an email going, hey, I hope things are going well. That's when you got somebody that's going to be there for with you and be that support for you. And again, and there are folks that don't abuse the relationship, and I don't abuse them, and they don't abuse me in a sense of more of constantly saying, well, hey, on your way, can you do this for me? Or, hey, I'm in a financial situation, can you help me out? I would do it anyway. But at the end of the day, you got to be very careful with making sure you have a good balance and have boundaries, and mentors set boundaries like, Dr. Carter, don't be calling me at 2 a.m. in the morning with your issues. Right. But yet, believe it or not, there is one mentor I know that if I need to do that, they will be open to that. And so it's, again, about establishing those expectations of what that relationship is going to be like.
And so this, sort of like a practical kind of question. Once you identify someone who you think would be a great mentor, do you just ask them to be a mentor, or is it organic, or how does that process even occur?
It's it's a little bit of both in terms of organic. I think that over time, and it's kind of like I tell folks who go into fundraising, you can't go out there and say, hey, and meet a person for the first time, and even though you and that person can give $10 million and say to them, hey, I'm Dr. Carter, I know you're wealthy, can you give me $10 million?
Mm-hmm.
Mentoring relationships have to be nurtured.
Mm-hmm.
Nurtured in a way of, you kind of got to get to know that person, and that person gets to know you. And over time, you will recognize, yeah, this person is right for me, because there are toxic people out there. And there are people who have hidden motives that can really steer you in the wrong direction and give you some bad advice. And so over time, you begin to realize that this person has got my best interest at heart. And then for me, you end up referring to them as, man, you just make for a great mentor for me. And so it just kind of rolls off your tongue. But I'll be honest with you, in all my situations with my mentors, I've never come out and said, hey, will you mentor me? Now I might have said, hey, I'm looking for a mentor, and can I talk to you about it? And all of a sudden that conversation, you start recognizing that you have some things in common, and then you say, hey, can we meet for coffee again? And then over time it goes, you realize that this person is a mentor. But you got to kind of nurture those relationships and let it build into that mentoring relationship. And some people might say, well, no, I disagree, because you can meet someone, and if you go that route, you got to have a mindset of, what is it that you're looking for? When I go back to students, when students say, well, Dr. Carter, can you be my mentor? Okay, do you want me to be a mentor to you in terms of academics? Do you want me to be a mentor to help you kind of manage some of your family, crises that you're dealing with? Do you want me to be a mentor because you're looking to find a career in student affairs and you want somebody to kind of help you navigate that? So those are the kind of questions that you got to come back, because too often we just throw that word out there, and then we get into the relationship, and it turns to be a short-term mentoring relationship, because then we start realizing, I don't really know what I want. It's just this, somebody said, go find a mentor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, in your current role as having all the responsibility you have and having so many people reporting to you, I could see how you could be working at the office really late in the evenings and sort of have your life sort of dominated by your work. So what are some keys to you maintaining a healthy work-life balance?
Absolutely. So first of all, you got to have folks that are going to keep it real. And I got one of my mentors, a lot of times when I'm driving home, because I commute, I have about a 45-minute commute, I might be driving home, and I might call this individual like at 8 o'clock, and he'll go, you're driving home, aren't you? You need to get out of the office. And so you they're checking in with you, and you're like, okay, yep, you're right. And so for me to maintain work-life balance, one of the things that I have to do is I have to, again, be self-aware. And what self-aware is, I play different roles. So I am a husband, I am a brother, I am a golf buddy, I am an employee. And so what I do is I'm always self-aware of how important it is to not let any of those fall to the wayside. And when they do, which they do, keeping it real, recognizing that, hey, I'm not being a good husband today, or I haven't been a good husband this week. I'm getting home late, so guess what? Let me focus on that for this next coming week and do things and connect with my spouse so that she recognizes that, hey, I do value you. It's just certain times of the year when my life is just crazy. So you got to be self-aware. The other piece of it is, again, in the other piece, you got to have people out there that are going to keep it real with you and tell you you're working too long. The other thing is I also have this philosophy of I can only do things that I have control over, and there are other things that I don't have any control over. And all too often we can get bogged down with trying to fix everybody and fix everything, and it takes its toll on ourselves. And I remember, back to your point earlier, working one day in the office, and I used to go in every Saturday and Sunday into the office and work like almost a full day. And I was looking out my office window, and I saw a student walking across campus with his golf clubs, and it hit me. I went, wait a minute, that's where I should be. This can wait. This can wait. This is not important. It's not going to. If people say, if I die today, this campus is going to continue to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the reality set in, and I went, you know what? I have got to set some boundaries for myself. And so I get asked to volunteer for community agencies, and the way that I am able to measure whether I can say yes or no to it is I say to myself, how does this coincide with my values? Because everybody's going to come after you, want to say, hey, can I get you to do this and can you do that? And I'm saying that if you sit there and someone is saying, well, I want you to come do this, and it's not in alignment with your values, it may not necessarily be a negative thing. It just may be, it's just, not something that that compliments you, where you're going to be able to give it your 100%. Again, your values alignment, your mentoring, and being self-aware in terms of that balance, and recognizing that, and even financial advisors will say to you, when you get paid, you have to pay yourself first. And I kind of carry that philosophy in my life. It's kind of like, I work hard. And when I'm at work, I work hard. So I'm going to have to reward myself. Mm-hmm. And I look for opportunities to do that. And that's what keeps me balanced.
Oh, that's great. That is great. As we're wrapping up, I do want to just ask you to help our listeners out a little bit. You've talked a lot about mentorship, about obviously investing in a mentor and having a mentor invest in you. You've got an incredible story of how you overcame some just childhood adversity. If you had to leave our listeners with a top takeaway from what you said today, what would that be? Maybe one or two things that would be a top takeaway.
Well, a top takeaway, when you look at all those things, and I have this also, I have a lot of phrases that I like to kind of help keep me focused. You got to experience setbacks in order to have a comeback. And so what I mean by that is throughout our life, we're going to experience some things, good, bad, that in our lives, and we're going to feel like there are setbacks. But at the end of the day, those setbacks, all they do is help build you and help make you stronger. And even though the outcome may not be what you want, you have to experience it. That's what life is all about, in order to have that comeback. All that leads to my word for the year is grit. And that resiliency, and always stand the course, and stay encouraged and stand motivated. And that's what I would want to leave my listeners with, is with all those things that were going on, they all played into my sense of gritness and being able to say, man, you're experiencing some setbacks, but they're preparing you for that one comeback.
Wow, that's a drop the mic moment right there. Dr. Carter, we want to just thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man, have a lot to do. We appreciate your time, and thank you for being on our show today. If anybody wants to know more about the work that Dr. Carter is doing, you can always look us up on www.theinvestu.com. And if you're tuning in on YouTube, look in the comments section below. We'll have Dr. Carter's bio, his website, email address, and if you have further questions, you want to reach out to him in any way, it'll be there as well. So once again, Dr. Carter, thank you for being on the show today, and I'm thankful for your mentorship in my life and your leadership, and how you continue to set examples for so many people.
Thank you, and I enjoyed my time, and I wish you all the best.
Once again, a very special thank you to Dr. Brett Carter. And again, you can follow us on the web at www.theinvestu.com. You can also follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram at INvest.U, and on YouTube at INvest.U. And thank you again for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. And as always, remember, love God, love people, and don't forget about you.